This is Rebecca Lowe, or Rebecca Lua if you listen to Suboptimal Radio, and you are listening to Men in Blazers on the NBC Sports Network.
It's unbelievable!
From the Embassy Road studios in the crap part of Soho, it's the Men in Blazers podcast, Rog.
We're back.
We're back. No window washing going on, Rog.
No.
It's quiet outside in the crap part of Soho. We have wisdom to impart.
That's a stretch.
Yeah, okay. We got things to talk about.
Yeah, that's better. I feel more comfortable with that.
Bring it down. You're back from the old country, Roger.
Back from England.
From Inglaterra.
Yeah, thank God. Thank you, America.
Did you have a good time?
Thank you, INS, for letting me back in.
You took your daughter.
I did, my 6-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
On a solo trip.
Yeah.
To expose her to the English side of her identity.
Yeah.
Because self-loathing doesn't just happen naturally in America, Dave. You have to breed it into them.
It wasn't really a solo trip. By definition, it was a duo trip, Rog, because you went with your daughter.
Yeah, alone with her.
Okay, got it.
The two of us.
Yeah.
She's amazing.
Lovely.
Yeah, I've got to say, our hotel was in St. James's Park.
Yeah.
Spent a lot of time in Whitehall.
Very old part of London. In some ways, the most, certainly in that sort of, in Westminster, because there's the City of London further east, there's Westminster, the two original towns in London.
Where I used to work.
In Westminster, it is like, St. James's is like old London, Rog.
And I was shocked, David. It's not changed at all. I used to work there in the old House of Commons. Mm-hmm. The lobbies of power still run by white, hoity-toity old boys network.
Yeah.
My type, Davey.
They all went to Eton, Winchester or Westminster.
Yeah, my type. We wouldn't have amounted to anything in England, Davey.
Yeah, nor would my type, Rog. Neither of us would have.
You know what is big news? Massive news in England.
Yeah.
Massive news.
Not the cricket.
Not the cricket, David. Yeah. The 200th anniversary of the Battle of Waterloo.
Oh, it feels like it was just yesterday, Rog.
Don't know why America's not talking about it.
1815, Rog.
The Duke of Wellington's crushing victory over Napoleon.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bonapartes 11 miles south of Brussels.
Yeah.
Probably very close to where Marouane Fellaini would later grow up.
Yeah.
A win which made, Dave, and I think this is why they're obsessed about it, for a brief moment, England, think about this, England was the world's greatest superpower.
You know, the Battle of Waterloo used to confuse me a lot as a child, Rog. I grew up in Blackheath in southeast London, serviced by southeast London trains that came out of Charing Cross Station.
Oh, yeah.
And when you went from Blackheath, it went Blackheath, Lewisham, St. John's, New Cross, or maybe New Cross St. John's, then London Bridge, then Waterloo East, where you change trains for the mainline Waterloo station, and then Charing Cross. And I was very confused as a kid.
It's by the London Eye.
It's
right by the London Eye if you Americans are trying to place it.
Why had there been a massive battle between the English and the French over Waterloo Station? It just seemed a very bizarre thing to me.
You thought it was just a battle to see who'd run the trains on time?
Exactly. Well, nobody won that one. Let's face it.
I was fascinated, honestly, Dave, when I was back in London. See, that many of the British are using this moment to reevaluate their own decline. I mean, there was a great article in The Independent when I was back that busted just about every single childhood myth that I had about the battle.
Uh-huh.
Despite the fact that over half the army consisted of Hanoverians, Saxons, Dutch and Belgians. I don't know where the Hanoverians and the Saxons are currently in FIFA's rankings.
Yeah.
Every schoolboy myth that I had about the battle. I mean, we're taught it that a great English general led a great English army to victory over the French. Obviously, Wellington, Irish, and his army were mostly, I think, over half Hanoverian, Saxon, Dutch and Belgian.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where the Hanoverians and Saxons currently are in FIFA's world rankings, Davo. And the victory ultimately was won by 53,000 Prussians who were Prussian mercenaries, Davo, sellswords, who arrived late and swung the battle, which is kind of fascinating. England is reveling in the fact that even in their greatest moment, it wasn't really England at the end of
in Britain, they say about Andy Murray that he's Scottish when he loses and he's British when he wins.
Yeah.
I think similarly, it is the English who won the Battle of Waterloo. But when we talk about the Revolutionary War, when we talk about the wars of independence, it's the Hessians, it's the German soldiers who lost the colonies for us. It's all, but Britain did a very good job hiring mercenaries on the whole to fight our wars.
I just can't believe, Davo, the concept that England was once the US of the world. Were we born 200 years too late, Davo?
Or perhaps 200 years too early. We don't know what the future's going to look like, Rog.
That's
a slightly optimistic way of looking at it.
If we're born 200 years too late, My family were probably getting the crap kicked out of them by Cossacks in Lithuania, so none of this would have been of any interest. The other big news in England, Davey.
Well, no, you had the Cossack killer, Rog, as part of your family.
Every
so
family.
Nothing. Your family were protected.
Every family had a Cossack killer. But
Uncle
every
Samuel.
family's Cossack king was it's a myth. They never existed. We
Yeah.
only talked about that to make ourselves feel better. Other big news in England.
Yeah.
The next James Bond. Possibly, Davey. A ginge.
Yeah.
The odds have been slashed for Homeland star Damian Lewis.
Yeah.
Succeeding Daniel Craig. We could be looking at the ginger Jackie Robinson, David.
It could be amazing. I hope that it's Band of Brothers Damian Lewis, frankly, and not Homeland Damian Lewis. Because I prefer Band of Brothers Damian Lewis.
I hope it's Agent 00 and Phineas and Ferb Damian Lewis, David.
I
But
love
honestly,
Phineas and Ferb.
once you played Agent
Probably love
00,
that show. Maybe after House Hunters International, Phineas and Ferb is my second favourite show on television.
don't you, but if you played Agent 00 and Phineas and Ferb, David, I do think James Bond is probably kind of a lateral move.
Step down.
Do you know who's excited about it?
Who?
Arlo White
Yeah.
tweeted, "We gingers will rejoice if this happens."
I didn't
A
realise that Arlo
flame-haired
White was
double-
a ginger.
He's like that. He's like that NAACP
Yeah.
woman. He identifies with
Oh,
gingers.
really? That was an amazing story, Rod. We can't even get into that on this pod, but that was an amazing story. He identifies ginger even though he isn't. That's genius.
Somebody needs to make the news. In other, perhaps even more important celebrity news, David.
Yeah.
Very excited when I read the New York Magazine. Rob Lowe is coming out with his own skin cream.
Oh, good. What
Very-
will it do to your skin?
Well, the New York Magazine wrote, Rob Lowe is a man that other men find beautiful. And it was this belief in part that spurred Lowe to create his very first skincare line, Profile for Men, which launches this year and which he now carries everywhere he goes. Number one, is Rob Lowe a man who other men find beautiful? Because
I don't think so, but he is a man. I once saw him in the Starbucks in Studio City in California, near where Carl Martino lives. I wasn't with Carl at the time. It sounds like we're in a relationship, which we're not. I just want to make clear.
by the way,
But-
I would wear Carl Martino face cream / hand cream / undercarriage cream.
Well, we'll see, because what I was going to say about Rob Lowe is Rob Lowe, who is, I think, a few years older than me. Rob Lowe looks incredibly young. He looks great for his age. So I don't think he's necessarily
well
a man who
moisturised.
other men want to
He's
look
well
like.
moisturised.
But his skin does still look tight.
Yeah.
He looks good for his
Okay,
age.
if I were to ask you,
Yeah.
name men who you think other men find beautiful, who would be top of your list?
Statham.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, I've just wanted to be bald.
Do you know a lot of bald men go and see Statham movies just to see a bald man kick ass? That's
Yeah.
how his movies do so well.
Guilty.
Don't find him attractive.
Yeah. Well, he's English. You don't like any English people.
Here's my list.
Yeah.
Number one, straight out the gate, leading from start to finish in this.
Yeah.
I would imagine most listeners are going to say the same thing.
Chuck Blazer.
No, Kurt Menefee.
Okay.
A beautiful
Yeah. He is
man.
a beautiful man. Very nice man as well.
Number two,
Yeah.
Brad Evans.
Okay.
Seattle Sounder, US men's national team.
Yeah.
A fantastic looking bloke,
Yeah.
dreamy.
Yeah.
And number three on my list, Davo, Michael Cera.
Yeah. Interesting.
Tell
You
what,
would like to look like Michael Cera.
Lexi is pulling a face I've never seen before that I don't know how to interpret. Definitely wasn't Kurt Menefee, did not bring that out.
No,
Yeah.
it didn't.
No.
I'm
we-
not sure that Lexi knows who Kurt Menefee is.
Oh, I love Michael Cera.
Okay.
I'd like to road test this cream, Rob Lowe. I know you listen to this.
Yeah.
The moisturiser, I read reviews online. There's a whole world of moisturiser review kind of wikis.
Is that on the internet or that's on the other internet? The deep web.
Oh, it's on the deep. It's the only one I use now, David.
Yeah.
It's the only one I recommend.
Yeah, it's a good web.
You should see the Men in Blazers webpage on the deep web.
Oh, is it amazing? Is it all the stuff we can't say on the podcast? Is there a deep web version of our podcast? The deep web version of our podcast would be the stuff we talk about for 5 minutes before we actually do the pod.
Yeah. I tell you, if there was a deep web version of our podcast,
Yeah.
it'd have a lot of Rob Stone on it.
The new statesman-like Rob Stone.
on this
Different Rob
wiki,
Stone.
on this kind of wiki for creams,
Yeah.
someone wrote the moisturiser smells of Play-Doh.
Yeah.
As if that was a big. I thought
That's a
fantastic.
positive.
That
That's
got
not
me
a
so-
negative.
Got me so. The only way I could be more excited about this face cream, which I am going to road test,
Yeah.
was if Paranoid Rob Lowe
Yeah.
had come out with his own face cream. Because to me, he's the only really good-looking one. Talking about cosmetics, David,
Yeah.
the heat around LeBron James's balding is ratcheting up.
Yeah.
His barber, Nick Catamanos, did a round of interviews. about the swirling debate, not about whether LeBron should have been or should not have been MVP. That was a big debate, I think, on sports radio.
Yeah.
Bigger debate.
Yeah.
LeBron.
What's going on with your hair?
What's going on with that conscious
Problems
choice?
in sector 3 everywhere.
Yeah, the hairdresser said, I'm tired of being asked over and over again about the hairline of my most famous client, LeBron James. He said,
there is no dye, no additives, no preservatives, Castellanos told Yahoo Sports in a phone interview Thursday. Everyone thinks he's dyeing his hair using temporary hair colorings, Bi-Gen or black ice. It's all his hair. They still don't believe me. I get Bi-Gen comments all the time. Note to producers Lexi and JW. Can we look into Bi-Gen? I don't know what that is, but we need to look into it.
He finished off saying, I've become numb to all this. It's not easy to hear the criticism.
Yeah.
He didn't deny the fact that he's injecting his own urine into his forehead, which is probably still a possibility. But Castellanos...
He's doing something, by the way, because last night he was not looking good. I turned over after the US Women's National Team game, like a lot of, I'm sure, of our listeners. I turned in to watch the decisive game of the NBA Finals. LeBron just looking exhausted, looking tired. It was actually like watching... I don't think it was the greatest US Women's National Team game. We'll talk about that a little later. But it was like watching a regular season game, maybe even like watching pre-season basketball, and mostly because LeBron was exhausted.
Oh, like a John Terry at the end of the season when John Terry looked like John Terry's dad.
Even more exhausted.
Oh, David, it's probably dealing with this swirling discontent about his hairline.
Yeah.
Castellanos, hairdresser, I know you listen to this pod. Listen to me. There should be dye. Yeah. There should be additives. There should be preservatives. And there definitely should be Bi-Gen.
Yeah.
There should be a radical shaving off.
Yeah.
It's the middle ground that you got your client in. The triangulation, I believe they call it in politics.
Uh-huh.
You're the problem. You're causing the problem. Stop doing the interviews. Start doing the haircuts, the proper haircuts, because you're embarrassing yourself. You're embarrassing LeBron, and frankly, all balds.
Without a doubt. We should say, and I'm getting
shame.
I'm getting a little creeped out by this, Rog. As we speak, we are being watched by 2 new guests at the Men in Blazers podcast, and this is our gift for Rebecca Lure.
We got housewarming.
Yeah, I mean, 2 beautiful.
She's just moved house.
And yet slightly creepy Crystal Palace gnomes are watching us, a pair.
Garden gnomes.
Because they have to travel in pairs. They're watching us thumbs up from the coffee table in my office right now.
If you've seen the photos of Alan Pardew at the Ibiza nightclub surrounded by lascivious ladies looking absolutely creepy, really creepy, these gnomes are even creepier than that.
She's going to love those gnomes.
They're like super creepy Alan Pardew.
That's very, very true, Rog. Okay, we got a packed show. We're going to break down a utilitarian US Women's National Team group stage performance and explore some of the
utilitarian, is that Basque for glorious in victory?
No, not
Destiny's
really.
Child.
I thought it was an interesting choice of words. And we're going to explore some of the other storylines emerging from a turf-laden Canada 2015. We're going to restrain ourselves from reading too much into the international friendly, but not too much restraint, Rog. Germany won, USA 2. We're going to celebrate the release of the Premier League fixtures. And orange is the new black's Abigail Savage, Rog. She's a GFOP. She joins us to talk about the World Cup and her beloved Arsenal. But first, Rog, new developments from FIFA land. We're hearing more. Dun, 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 dun. Let's embezzle the money, get apartments for all of our cats. Let's embezzle the money, get apartments from all of our cats. God, it's a good tune. We're hearing more from Loretta Lynch's tag team partner, Swiss Attorney General Michael Lauber. Oh, I say Swiss Attorney General Michael Lauber. It's more like Swiss Attorney General Michael Lauber. He is heading a Swiss investigation into the way FIFA awarded the 2018 Russia and 2022 Qatar World Cups. Lauber announced this morning that the Swiss investigation involves 53 possible cases of money laundering and 104 incidents of suspicious activity in Swiss bank accounts, and has not discounted bringing in Sepp Blatter for interview. Not stopping Sepp Blatter from suggesting he might stay in the post, Rog.
Well, it's fascinating. Lauber has probably built up his career when he's been talking about Swiss investigations, and whenever in the past he said investigations, he's probably done that funny thing with his fingers, where he says like investigations in inverted commas kind of thing. This is probably the first time he's actually had to carry something through in the old force of law. I find it very fascinating. We should say the biggest news this week is Loretta Lynch is on Twitter, and we have to say this. because she's so magnificent. She is our hero, and we adore her. She went on Twitter this morning at Loretta Lynch. The White House put out a follow Loretta Lynch, but in poetry. Many of you are totally confused, thinking we wrote this post. The White House officially wrote, "The law is her map, justice her compass. She is tough, but she is fair. She is firm, but she is kind." So says at POTUS about at Loretta Lynch.
Let me read
I
that
think
again.
our GFOPs can probably write better poetry about Loretta Lynch than President Obama can, David.
The law is her map, justice her compass. Yeah, we could go and do that whole thing to the FIFA.
By the way, if you do have a poem that you would like to write about our hero Loretta Lynch, email it to us. We'll give patches to the best one. She is a woman who needs ballads to be written about it.
Yeah, very, very true. I'm surprised it's only 53 possible cases of money laundering and only 104
It's been
incidents.
so much that's been surprising this week. The news that Chuck Blazer agreed to go undercover at FIFA to avoid potential 75-year sentence. The bloke's
How does
70,
Chuck
David.
Blazer go undercover?
He's got.
I mean, he'd be a terror on undercover boss.
God, I'd
Chuck
watch that.
Blazer would be terrible. There's no disguise. That he would challenge any prosthetic makeup artist.
If you watch The Americans, they always have to be disguised, but they have to wear funny disguises that let you know that it's them. They wear the most. I imagine Chuck Blazer would wear
Blazer already looks
disguises
like he's
in The
Maybe,
Americans.
by the way, Chuck Blazer doesn't look anything like this. That the whole Chuck Blazer look has been a disguise.
I honestly have tugged on that beard and it's stayed on.
Okay.
He's got a very optimistic perspective of his own life expectancy. That's all I'm saying. Won't somebody think of the cats? Sepp floated a fascinating idea this week in our favourite Swiss newspaper, Schweiz am Sonntag.
Schweiz am Sonntag. I love that.
I only get it for the crossword.
I only get it on Sundays. Right?
He might, after all, stay on as FIFA president.
Yeah, he never used the word resign in his initial speech, Rog.
Yeah, he's putting out a little trial balloon, which I think is connected to the ouster of PR chief at FIFA, Walter de Gregorio, the director of communications, who resigned after going on Swiss television last week and joking, FIFA president Sepp Blatter, the director of communications, and the general secretary Jerome Valky are all sitting in a car. Who is driving?
The police! The Polizei! It's hilarious.
Polizei!
Right. But this is a classic case of let's blame the messenger.
I'm not surprised, by the way, that he's resigning. I fully expect him to get his own Netflix comedy special, Aziz Ansari style, within a week.
In Switzerland,
he's
by
hilarious.
the way. That's hilarious.
It's hilarious everywhere. But his ouster has been connected back to Sepp, who was frustrated by de Gregorio's insistence that Blatter play out his last few months quietly. Sepp wants to go out in a blaze of glory or not go out at all. I think part of him hopes that America in general and the FBI in particular have kind of moved on from this FIFA thing, got caught up in more important cases like the Cardinals database breach, Clint Dempsey's epic US Open Cup red card meltdown, or Rachel Dolezal.
Oh, Donald Trump running for president, Rog.
In the wake of that news, Blatter announced, "I'm working on a paper called The New FIFA." You should read this one, David.
FIFA is going through difficult times. This makes me all the more proud that our organization runs smoothly in a crisis. Smoothly.
Oh, that's like hearing Vlad the Impaler being like, times are terrible, but I'm really proud of our nation's willingness to maintain social order voluntarily. Domenico Scala, the bloke who's overseeing, well, all things like the presidential election, said that a, quote, leadership change is an essential component of the far-reaching reforms required to overhaul FIFA.
Yeah.
His way of saying, Sepp, not so fast, shut it. But I'm starting to think, David, the only logical theory is Sepp Blatter is a White Walker, possibly the Night's King, and we're going to need an awfully large piece of dragon glass to kill him off properly.
Or is Domenico Scala really Chuck Blazer? I'm starting to worry about that.
Man of many faces.
And who was the PR guy?
He's the faceless man. In news that will make Sepp sad.
Yeah.
Also, another thing, news that makes us incredibly happy, the Nobel Peace Centre announced it's withdrawing from the FIFA partnership, Handshake for Peace initiative, a partnership that essentially involved FIFA giving it €800,000 a year. The Guardian wrote, the decision will have come as a bitter blow to Sepp Blatter, who still harbours hopes of winning the Nobel Peace Prize.
But by the way, would you be surprised if he won the Nobel Peace Prize or became a UN ambassador or the president of Switzerland?
One of the things I most admire about Sepp Blatter, David, and I do, it's his cognitive dissonance. It's like he truly believes he's still destined. It's his destiny to win the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah.
It's like me believing Weird Science is really a true documentary and one day I will end up with Kelly LeBrock.
Yeah.
Final piece of great FIFA news, and by FIFA land we mean world of crazy theatre of the absurd.
It's like the Matrix.
And it just when we think it can't become any more surreal, David, we got to say hats off, Jack Warner.
Yeah.
You and John Oliver. Well, I've got to say, nothing makes me happier.
Yeah. Did he win that round, Rod?
Than Jack Warner and John Oliver just trading YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Further step back? John Oliver, you genius, quite brilliantly inserting yourself into the FIFA meltdown by buying airtime on Trinidadian television.
How much do you think that cost?
You're the television man. It was 9:01. He was 9:01 in peak viewing hours on Trinidadian television. He ran a John Oliver infomercial.
I just love the producer who's tasked with that job. It's like, okay, I want to buy time on Trinidadian television, and just the poor producer leaving the room trying to figure out how to buy the time. How on earth you go about doing
Jack
that?
Warner probably loves it. He probably owns a bit of Trinidadian television.
I was saying,
He's creaming money off
the call comes in, and it's Jack Warner answers the phone, and that's who he has to send the check to.
Yeah, he's loving it. And then
John Oliver will go to jail for giving money to Jack Warner.
Wrestling. It's like, I'll respond to you. You respond to me. It's a win-win.
Total setup.
I'll cream money. And the ratings
and
on
somehow
Trinidadian
Donald Trump's
television.
Involved.
The Trinidadian television ratings. I just say, Warner the bit on whatever John Oliver said and fired back with an amazing piece of video in which he says, I don't need to take advice from any, quote, comedian fool who does not know anything about this country to tell me what files to release. I take no instructions from him. I can only imagine the scene in John Oliver's writer's room, David, when they first saw that Warner video.
Yeah.
There must have been some Bud Light limes down that night.
It's like the end of the Battle of Waterloo with less Hessians and Prussians.
I've got to be honest. My first thought when I've watched Jack Warner take on John Oliver is if I was a Comedy Central exec, I would offer Jack Warner Jon Stewart's show instead of Trevor Noah.
Oh,
He's that good.
Trevor's got to be worrying.
He's a comedy surrealist, Jack Warner.
Yeah. It's too good.
You
Comedian fool. I don't think that's such a bad description. I don't think that John Oliver is a comedian fool, but the word comedian, just the construct comedian fool. There are comedians, there are fools, there are obviously comedian fools.
To insert yourself in the story to such a degree, though, David, is a piece of comic mastery.
It's brilliant. What can we do?
Admire and worship
You're very
at
right,
John Oliver's
Rog.
coattails.
To the football, Rog. Good job. Cracks it open. Pours it in. Cheers, mate.
To victory. American victory.
Yes.
Destiny.
Rog. Women's World Cup, Rog. At the time of recording
Megan
this
Klingenberg.
pod, only 4 group games remain. Right now, Japan is the only team to finish the group stage with 3 wins. Brazil could do the same if they beat Costa Rica today. Germany is looking very German, Rog, finishing the group stage with 2 wins, a draw, and a goal difference of plus 14. Meanwhile, FIFA scriptwriters have tapped Cameroon and Colombia to play the Rudy and Raki roles. The Lionesses of Cameroon, who are ranked 53rd in the world, Rog, lost only to Japan, and they will advance to the knockout stages. Colombia upset France 2-0, and Colombia play England this afternoon. How much have you been loving it, Rog?
Oh, immensely, Dave. I've been loving it immensely. Turf be damned.
And
by
I've
the
enjoyed
way,
it too.
The refereeing worse than the turf.
Yeah.
I went to England and savoured the coverage from over there. And then I returned, Davo, in time to find Rob Stone so polished with his hair all swept over tight.
It's a different Rob Stone, Rog. I have a feeling that this is not Rob Stone. I'm not suggesting it's Chuck Blazer, but this is a more statesman-like Rob Stone. It's a more mature Rob Stone. In Canada, he's different in Canada, Rog.
Oh, he looks like a man poised, Davo, poised to throw his hat into the presidential bid ring.
He's too sane.
Oh, if we had a vote,
Makes too much
which
sense.
we don't, we'd
President
back him.
Stone. I would back Rob Stone for president.
Pabst Blue Ribbon for all children.
Yeah.
That's his platform.
He would do all
probably.
of his speeches from the White House, walking and talking, Rog. It'd be amazing. He wouldn't do that walk to the lectern in the Rose Garden. He would do with a Steadicam. Okay, come on here. And he'd do the walk and talk presidential address. The State of the Union would be like a town hall. He'd be walking all around the stage, taking questions. He'd do part
And
of
then
it
he quickly popped to some leather chairs to meet with the Afghani consul.
Yeah.
And then he'd be off again
Leaning on a desk.
to go and meet the Australian ambassador on
Yeah.
on a small green AstroTurf football field, standing
Yeah.
up awkwardly.
He would call America, America. I'd love it. Rob Stone would be an amazing president.
The only thing I think that is keeping him from doing this, David,
Yeah.
is he's got to ask himself,
Is
a
it
man
the skinny
doesn't run
legs?
alone. Who would he choose? And this is hard at Fox because I've been to smaller orgies and they have talent
Oh,
on that show.
they put a lot of people on every show.
Who would he choose as his running mate, David? Who would be Who would be the ideal stoner?
Yeah.
Stoner
He'd be good
for
in the
pres.
cabinet meeting, though, Rog, because he already has. He's used to a cabinet meeting every time they do a round table.
He'd do
except with more people.
By the way, the badge, when he runs, it'd say stoner for pres, the number 4, PREZ. That's what he'd run on that platform. Hashtag stoner for pres. Who would be the stoner for pres VP candidate, David?
Okay, well, let's go through some of the options, Rog.
Yeah.
Lallis.
Al Gore.
They're very close.
Al Gore.
Are you saying Al Gore legitimately, or are you comparing Lallis to
I
Al
think
Gore?
Lallis is the Al Gore possible.
Okay, that's interesting.
how I
Yeah,
think
Stoner and
about it.
Lallis, they're close.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes Lallis probably wakes out of bed the wrong side and just be a bit grumpy.
What are you
Not
saying?
that we've ever experienced that from Lallis, but I'm not sure that like his mood will always be positive running the country.
That's when the country will run well.
Yeah. So
When-
Lallis,
when
you like
has got
Lallis?
I'm just saying, if he wants the Al Gore option,
Yeah.
Lallis.
How about Ronaldo?
Dick Cheney.
In a sweater. Although Dick Cheney likes a sweater too. I'll tell you, he has stopped wearing the sweaters, or he's refrained, or maybe the weather's got warmer in Vancouver. But he looks good in a sweater.
Mitts.
Yeah. Heather Mitts.
Mitts.
Mitts is good.
Yeah.
Mitts is a good one.
The Lyndon Johnson option.
Yeah.
I think, for the old Mitts.
Yeah.
Then I thought, it's Barton.
But not born in the United States of America.
And thus eliminated.
Yeah. Oh no, can you be VP if you're not born in it? You just can never become.
I
You
looked
can't
it
even
up,
be
David.
VP.
I looked it up. Sadly,
Yeah.
well, probably not sadly for America, but sadly for you
Yeah.
and for me, we can never become vice president.
Okay. I'm not sad about that.
So by elimination,
Uh-huh.
I think it's got to be Dr. Joe.
I don't know about Dr. Joe.
The
Rod.
Dan Quayle.
I don't know about Dr. Joe.
The Dan Quayle option. What
Uh-huh.
would they, at Bethany Robertson tweeted us to say, what kind of doctor is Dr. Joe?
Yeah. A doctor of letters, perhaps?
I think it's the same kind as Dr. Love, Dr. Hook, or Dr. Faustus. One of those. I love Dr. Joe, by the way.
Dre.
Can I just say he's my favourite? He gets them. They have
Yeah.
They have 12 or 14, sometimes 18 analysts in
Yeah.
the room, but he gets full air. I mean, he gets to dominate
Yeah.
the coverage. Everyone
Yeah.
just spends 12, 13 people just looking at Dr. Joe fill a half-time show.
Yeah.
He always reminds me of a distant uncle at a family reunion who does all the talking and tells stories about the war a lot.
Yeah.
Can't get enough Dr. Joe.
Yeah, Dr. Joe would be an interesting candidate. But he could be the Surgeon General, Rog, also. He could always get that job. Loretta Lynch, though, Rog, surely the VP candidate in a Rob Stone presidency.
You don't want Loretta Lynch to be on your ticket. You don't want to be outshone
Yeah.
by your number 2.
Okay, Rog, but time to talk about the US women's national team's performances on the field. The American States United, Rog, they snatch the group of death's top spot with 2 wins and a draw. Actually didn't feel like they did that well, but ultimately 7 points from that group is pretty impressive. They followed their opening win over Australia with a 0-0 draw against Sweden and former coach Pia Sundhage. And last night, the team sealed the top spot, beating Nigeria 1-0 behind an Abby Wambach thunder volley.
2 words, Davo.
Yeah,
Job done.
definitely job done, Rog.
I mean, it was a funny night last night because results before the game meant the US had already qualified. And what was unknown was against who would they be playing the next round? We still don't know.
Yeah.
And how would they qualify? I mean, this is the team so far that so badly crave, I think, a sports centre worthy moment. Just something that will ignite the passion of the casual sports fan behind the team. Be it a kind of John Brooks last second strike, which was a year ago this week against Ghana, or more likely for this team, a Megan Rapinoe goal celebration for the ages. And we didn't get one, Davo. We didn't get one because, although, I mean, over the course of these 3 games, we're used to, with the US team, having the strikers be the face of our team. But this is a team whose greatest strength is its backline.
Yeah, I thought that last night, Becky Sauerbrunn, what a fantastic game she had.
Fantastic.
Rog, and Julie
Tenacious.
Johnson as well, fantastic game.
Yeah, I'd say if the men's back 4 was half as tactically intelligent,
Yeah.
we would be a real threat
Yeah.
on the world stage. Julie Johnson, I mean, against the Swedes, it was the best performance I've seen against Swedish people since Dave Grohl. And last night, Becky Sauerbrunn, the player not enough people are talking about,
Yeah.
she has been unflappable the
Yeah.
whole group stage, even against the pace of the Nigerians, who, as GFOP at the Russia cycle tweeted, this Nigerian team are clearly inspired to win this one for the Prince. His email said he was down on his luck and he needs you to send money. The Nigerians played like a team that were trying to cheer him up. I mean, it's not just Sauerbrunn and Johnson. Megan Klingenberg made the play of the opening round when Sweden tortured Hope Solo by surrounding her with blondes at set pieces. and Klingenberg was there to clear off the line, all 5'2" of her. And we've got to say, Davo, Hoop Solo completes that back line.
Yeah, absolutely. Playing in front of the best goalkeeper in women's football by a mile.
My mate Michael Kerim
Yeah.
used to say about Peter Cech in his first few seasons that when Peter Cech takes the field, it's like Chelsea took the field with a 1-0 lead already in the bank. And I feel the same.
I wonder if he'll be saying that if he plays for Arsenal next season.
There was a moment when Nigeria took a long shot when they were down to 10 men last night and they were exhausted. A long, kind of hopeful, optimistic shot.
Yeah.
And Hoopsala just plucked it out the air. And as she did so, she just grinned at the striker.
Yeah, pointless.
She smirked. I mean, it's not something you really see in the men's game, trash smiling.
Yeah.
And I just wrote that Hoopsala is a deal with the devil. And for this team, a necessary deal with the devil. But holding Sweden and Nigeria to just 2 shots on goal is a fantastic achievement.
Yeah.
And we'll find out in this tournament if, like baseball, pitching can win you championships. Let's talk about the final third, though, David.
Yeah, well, that's the positive, is talking about the defence, talking about the backline. Going forward, this is still a team that looked very disjointed. I must say, Megan Rapinoe had another fantastic game, and obviously the goal came from finally some great set-piece delivery and a great finish by America's most reliable goal scorer, Abby Wambach.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about this, because throughout this tournament, there's just been an incredible and an unusual, over the course of the past couple of World Cups, American impotence in the final third. The tie against Sweden was the first time this US team has been shut out in 20 World Cup games against a Swedish side who ultimately, as we speak, are struggling by a tiny thread to get out of the group. The Swedes have almost been like Portugal at the Men's World Cup last year, a feared team who were meant to be a menace.
But drawn 3 games.
Yeah, I mean, for them, watching their Swedish manager, the Batty Pia Sundhage, watch her team's game against Australia, she's a singing, charismatic, mildly trash-talking former US coach. It's probably the hardest, most painful night she's had since ABBA broke up. But Abby Wambach, David. Yeah. When I hear her name, Abby Wambach, all I can hear is Charlie as a Red saying, Ashley Young.
Ashley
Yang. Ashley Wambach. Ashley. Yeah. She's having an emotionally complex tournament.
She is.
Dropped for the Swedish game.
Yeah.
Second time in her career only. She's been a World Cup sub. Against Sweden, just thinking about the US team with no Wambach and no Alex Morgan, it was like contemplating the return of True Detective without Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson. It was hard to conceive of. It was actually quite hard to watch.
Yeah, and she's lost her timing on her jumping for her headers, Roger. And I can say, I wonder if this is about the turf. I wonder if it's because the delivery comes in differently. I wonder if her step in, her sense memory and her toes and on the balls of her feet feels differently somehow. But she's just lost her timing.
Yeah, I mean, she came back for the Nigeria game alongside a rusty but willing Alex Morgan, the duo coming back together. I couldn't have been more excited if Wham reunited. Mm-hmm. But I felt the Wambach reinstatement, it was fascinating. It could have been one of 2 things, David. Either Abby, who carries a huge amount of political clout on that squad, forcing her way back in, or possibly, and we'll not know, shrewd management by Jill Ellis.
Yeah.
If Abby didn't score, it was clear to all that she's done. And so leaving her out in a more critical elimination round game would be less controversial. Mm-hmm. But God love her, she scored. Nigeria 0, Tarth 1 from the US's 527th corner in the 45th minute.
Ivor Bennett time, Rod.
Judge Ivor Bennett time, fine side foot volley. At Swampy13 tweeted, "Mortal Wambach."
Yeah, I almost thought for a second, when it first happened in real time, Rog, I thought she'd honestly volleyed the Nigerian defender's head into the back of the net. It was like the contact was so close, and then I realised it was the ball.
What relief, though, for her. I mean, she's had a tough week muttering to the press that it was the artificial turf's fault the US had not scored prolifically, which temporarily gave her the countenance of a female Ricky Lambert. Mm-hmm. She scored, but should she be starting, David?
Well, there's something wrong, but, I'm not sure that it's all about Wambach. I don't think the service was particularly good. Yes, she missed a sitter earlier in the tournament, and I think she had some half chances in this game earlier that she might have done better with. But the movement all seems wrong. All of the movement is coming out of Megan Rapinoe, and one would say that the movement in this game was better. I loved watching Julie Johnson bringing the ball forward. I loved the way that they ran into space. But Nigeria found it a little bit too easy to close them down, to suffocate them. There's not a great deal of width. And when there is width, there's not a great deal of service into the box.
Here's what I don't like about Abby. Yes, she did score, but when she's on the field from the start, the US, they're so subservient to her in the final third. They have to feed her. She's the first and second option. And it deprives the team of more complex attacking play.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, Abby just is everybody's focus. And half-time last night in the studio, the message was very pro-Abby. They were very, see what happens when Abby gets service. But the honest truth is, Abby's probably had too much service. The bigger key for the US going forward is getting Alex Morgan back to at least serviceable health. Because I think ultimately, she's so much more flexible. She's got so many other ways to hurt teams. And she's going to be the key to whether the US can go all the way. Let me ask you about Jill Ellis, Davo. Do you think she's shuffling parts, she's shuffling in players, she's mixing combinations, shuffling deep into the group stage who her starting lineup is? Does she have a master plan, David?
I feel as though, whether this is Jill Ellis or whether this is the culture of the US women's national team and the state of the women's game right now, that the US want to do what they've always done and their sense memory of what has always worked in previous tournaments. You know, one of the big striking things for me about the game last night was seeing, oh my God, this Nigerian team are going to be good come 4 years' time. The African nations are going to be serious contenders in women's soccer, just as we're seeing all these other nations around the
leap
world.
Australia have made over the past 4 years.
And the US are going to have a lot more technical skill. They're going to have to play, they're going to have to, I think you're saying the same thing as you, they're going to have to football their way out of these problems. They're going to have to use their superior skill and speed out of these problems rather than thinking they can just battering around people.
Honestly, I mean, it's like watching England go into the World Cup thinking they can just batter, physical, outmaneuver. And you said to me, Jill Ellis reminds you of...
Jill Ellis reminds me of Roy Hodgson, Rog. And actually, there are more... No, she just looks a little bit confused and a little bit confounded on the sidelines. And there are some more parallels, Rog. Not so much between Jill Ellis and Roy Hodgson, but between... Remember what soccer was like for England. They taught the rest of the world how to play soccer, and then they watched as the rest of the world caught up, and they still tried to do it the same way, and they couldn't win anymore.
Yeah, can we interest you in our story about the Battle of Waterloo?
The US women's national team are sort of at that point of where England was after the Second World War. And it's a...
1999 is your 1815 America.
So let's not
Julie Foudy is your Duke of Wellington.
Yeah, let's not make the mistake of thinking, look, we invented women's soccer, and so we're going to win by just doing the same things we've always done.
Don't do the same thing we did, America.
Exactly. You've got to adapt.
Yeah, I mean, the group of death. Ellis has treated the group of death as if it's still a send-off series, as if it's warm-up friendly. She still seems to be looking for a system. Kristen Press and Sydney Leroux have failed to step up. Sid's having I'd say a very Danny Welbeck of a tournament. Morgan Bryan didn't seize her opportunity. Tobin Heath last night looked oddly overawed for much of the Nigeria game. Box and Ramponi came on against Nigeria. The game became a strange hybrid, half World Cup group stage game, half old-timer reunion. And then you see players like Heather O'Reilly hugging the side of the dugout on the sideline, just desperate to take the field.
Wanting it.
Teams do find their stride in tournament play. Look at Italy in the Men's World Cup.
Yeah.
In World Cups past, they've struggled to get out of the group stage, and they've either just completely wilted immediately, or they've gotten in every elimination round game stronger and stronger and stronger and found another gear. Come crunch time, we'll see whether the US do likewise in the next 2 weeks. The thing that makes me concerned, Davo, is teams play the United States with no fear, which I'm not used to in the group stage at all.
Yes, I was watching Sydney Leroux on a few of those runs last night, and I felt that she was used to blowing. She's been so used to blowing by defenders, and suddenly she's now running at defenders, and they're starting to keep up with her, and she's bailing out of those runs, just bailing out of them. And you got to commit, you got to commit. And I think they will adapt. Having said this, all this criticism, they have 2 wins and a draw. They've come out of this group of death. Look, we celebrated the US men's national team. They came out with a win, a draw, and a loss out of the group of death down in Brazil. They've come out with 2 wins and a draw, 7 points out of any group. That is a really hard thing to do. And against Nigeria, Sweden, and Australia, that's been a very hard thing to do.
But, we've watched our team, the opening of the game against Sweden, the opening game against Australia. The US were unable to hold on to possession. Sweden were the second team to kick off this tournament and play with no fear. They kind of actually befuddled us with their fascinating tactical lineup. 10 blondes, 10. And 1 brunette. Mm-hmm. Hope Selly did not like that at corners.
Yeah.
It could easily have been a penalty award in that game against Leroux handball. By the way, the Swedish game was so poor, Davo. I was watching it in England, 1 o'clock in the morning. I spent much of the first half just wandering off mentally, like 2:30, thinking, is there anything lonelier in life than being a Swedish ginger? Yeah. I even tried to put a list of Swedish gingers together, could only come up with Rasmus Elm. Final point on this team, Megan Rapinoe, Davo.
Yeah.
You touched upon it. To me,
Best
Megan
player
Rapinoe,
on the field by a mile in every single World Cup game she's played so far.
Which is a great thing. And a bit of a dark thing, because to me, she is everything to this US team. I mean, the US, they appear to have few players with the ability on the ball to break down their opponents, the willingness, the confidence.
Yeah.
And watching them defer to Megan Rapinoe, it's honestly, it reminded me of watching second half of the season Liverpool and Philippe Coutinho.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Where the US just keep feeding Megan, keep feeding her, in the hope she can make that magic-y thing happen. If she was a bloke, we'd be calling her Real Madrid's Megan Rapinoe right now. She's been that good.
Yeah.
But we have to find a second option.
Yeah.
What now, Davo? What now? We survived the group of death. We've not exactly convinced an eager nation. We've played actually eerily like Manchester United during Van Gaal's first long winning run, when United kept winning games, and every week we'd be like, well, but they weren't that good. They weren't that convincing. They didn't dominate.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting that other than Hope Solo and Megan Rapinoe, and certainly defenders, but defenders are never going to capture the imagination of the sort of the general audience in the way that attacking players are going to. There haven't been those sort of breakout stars in that US women's national team that one's been used to in tournament after tournament of yore, Rog.
I'd say, I'd love to know if there's any colour scientists who listen to the pod. I have been wondering, David.
What is the art of colour science? Is there a special name for colour scientists?
Yeah.
Perhaps the colour
Dr.
scientist listening can tell us what a colour scientist
Yeah,
is
first
called.
of all, tell us what the hell you do.
Yeah,
they
tell
know
us what it's called.
They know that like red is like angry.
Yeah.
They know that you should never have a green restaurant. It's just bad.
You're saying this is to do with the yellow stripe in the socks and on the shirt?
I'm saying right now we want to love our team. Like America really wants to believe in this team. They've been a little lukewarm, and I'm wondering to what effect is like people's emotional connectivity or lack of it to this team reinforced by the kit choice.
Yeah.
We're used to our team playing in some variation of the familiar red, white, and blue, and you emotionally connect. I emotionally connect to Everton's shirt. You emotionally connect to Chelsea's.
Yeah.
If Chelsea suddenly decided they were going to wear purple, I mean, scientists who are listening.
When they wear the black away shirts, I find it difficult to connect to Chelsea.
Scientists, when you watch this patchy football in neon yellow, does it subconsciously dampen your emotional connection between fan and team? I am interested. By the way, so good news.
Yeah.
Ignore the quality of the play.
Yeah.
Savor the outcome, because the difference between winning and running up in this group was massive. Day less to prepare, 3,000-mile journey to Moncton.
Yeah.
Moncton has never been so famous. This is Moncton's Woodstock.
Yeah.
The people of Moncton will long talk about the summer of Women's World Cup. They probably avoided Brazil until deep into this tournament. And it is, what you said, a fascinating gambit by the US, the whole tournament. They are decided they're going to continue to try and excel at their traditional brand of their game and take on the rest of the world, who are all kind of women's football 2.0, the Germany, the Japans, who can pass, move, break down opponents, play with technical fluidity. It's kind of like watching someone persevere with the Macarena when everybody else has moved on to the en vogue Lambada. And we're going to find out if the US can pull it off. The last 16 should give us a low-ranked team, but after that, it could probably be anybody. And we're not going to be able to survive a subpar game once the elimination round kicks in.
Talking about the elimination round for the US, their game Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time in Edmonton, as you said, Rog. The game will be on Fox's family of networks, and we should say that the TV ratings have been fantastic for Fox. Exceptional numbers, way up on ESPN's numbers 4 years ago, and great for the game in America. Yeah,
we had a great question, Dave, sent in by a listener, Everson Hardy.
This is my first Women's World Cup I've ever watched. I came to football through EA Sports FIFA. I fell in love with the last World Cup and fed that habit with the Premier League last season. I am fully invested in this women's tournament, but to be honest, playing all these games to move to 16 teams out of 24 seems like a lot of work. And I have had to suffer through the Ivory Coasts, Thailands, and Ecuadors in doing so. Is there a smarter way to play this tournament? Well, definitely, but unfortunately FIFA run it. That would be my short answer.
Yeah, I watched a lot of this week, Davo, from England, which was fascinating. First of all, to watch England win a World Cup game, as we did, we beat Mexico, and in some style.
Amazing.
I experienced unfamiliar feelings.
Yeah, and played some quite good football in that game as well, Rog.
Watching an England team in an England jersey win a World Cup, it
was amazing.
It felt mildly apocalyptic.
Yeah.
But watching in England is a fascinating reminder of I'd say the true state of the women's game outside of North America, where it is so massive and so dominant and so wondrous. I mean, I'll say this, it's hard to believe, I know Americans won't like this, the tournament, the Women's World Cup, is a borderline non-event in England.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say the coverage, buried away on a back channel of BBC 3, was brilliantly refreshing. Jackie Oatley.
Yeah. Oh, she's fantastic,
She is
Rog.
out of this world.
Yeah, she's so good.
American broadcasters who are listening, sign up Jackie Oatley.
Yeah.
The profile of the Women's World Cup in England is about as big as the Rugby World Cup in the United States. And when I did speak to English soccer fans...
And by the way, that's not just England. I would say that's across Europe and a bunch of South American, probably the same through the rest of the CONCACAF region, Rog.
Barely in the newspapers. And when it is, it's a feature on, wow, they're crazy for it in America.
Yeah.
They write kind of features about, wow, America really loves women's football in a way the rest of the world does not. And when you speak to soccer fans, as I did, most didn't know the Women's World Cup was even on. And those that did, and remember this, we don't have a history in England of winning the Women's World Cup in our past. We don't have any Title IX tradition. The ones that did know it was on, they're looking at the action with the fresh eyes. And almost everyone I spoke to who did know it was on, which is a tiny minority, they measure it against the Copa America, the Euros qualification, and then they all said we'd rather watch that. So that's what FIFA is grappling with. They're almost dealing with a quantity against quality problem, where they've tried to expand this to 24 teams, which is 8 more than the previous tournament. The original tournament, I think, had only 12 teams in China in 1991. They're trying to grow the impact of the Women's World Cup to teams, like you said, Nigeria will be all the better for participating. They want to engage as many teams as possible. But viewers, they want to make sure the quality is still good. And I guess the question suggests that playing all of these games over the past 10 days to eliminate a handful of teams and make people watch Thailand and Ecuador, or watch Australia play Sweden, which was a great game, but it was in an empty stadium.
Yeah.
These are real challenges. I don't know how you'd fix it.
Yeah, no, it's hard to do. And then, look, there's been some benefit. You know, in the Men's World Cup, Rog, only teams from Europe or South America have ever won the Men's World Cup. Women's World Cup has been won by teams, obviously won by the US in CONCACAF, by teams from Europe, by teams from Japan and from Asia, which we haven't seen at all. And so here, the inclusion of the Asian and African teams is important. I think actually the African teams, we're going to see massive, massive progress from the African teams over the next
10 years. The Men's World Cup
years.
had this format in 1994.
Yeah.
A lot of people point out, but everybody hated that. And they changed it very quickly. I think I prefer 4 groups of 4, David.
Yeah.
With 2 teams going through. And some qualification playoffs to get in for the second tier of teams to retain their involvement.
Yeah.
Or more radically, David, I'd have an NIT kind of second-tier tournament taking place at the same time as the Women's World Cup.
As cricket has done. Cricket has done that. They've had the mainstream World Cup, the ICC World Cup for a long time. Okay, as the US women's national team marches on in Canada, the men have returned home with 2 of the biggest scalps in world football. This is amazing, Rog. After defeating the Netherlands in a 7-goal thriller in Amsterdam, Jurgen Klinsmann led the Von Trapps into Köln last Wednesday, Rog, and downed Die Mannschaft 2-1, courtesy of goals from GFOP Mix Diskerud and Hawaii's own Bobby Wood.
Bobby Wood.
We outpassioned them.
Loretta Lynch, David.
Yeah.
The FIFA yoga. She terrifies everyone, even the Germans. It's the only conclusion. It's the only logical conclusion you can have from watching this game. I mean, it's a fascinating game. 4 of our starting 11, John Brooks, Timmy Chandler, Williams and Johnson, were born in Germany. It was like watching an episode of The Americans. I couldn't tell who was on our side, who's really a double agent. I mean, watching Timmy Chandler on that first goal did make me wonder. First goal netted by Mario Götze. Scheiße! What's stung worse than letting the Germans score against us was that Götze didn't celebrate at all. As if he was just like, ain't no big thing to score against the Americans.
Yeah, massive underestimation by both teams of the quality of the US, Rog, and their resilience, their never say die attitude, their fitness, their self-belief, their willingness to come back, their willingness to go the extra yard faster.
And their balance. Good teams have balance. And no one has better balance than when Michael Bradley, completely bald, passes to the lusciously maned mixed Discaroo, David.
Yeah.
You will not see a better hair combo.
Yeah, we talk too much about talls and smalls working together. We don't speak enough about people of different hair sector challenges.
It's like
working together.
There should be an Ebony and Ivory song written about balds, and we don't fear the fully haired. We respect you. And Michael Bradley, a bald, played a visionary poetic chip pass into space for the galloping mixed Discaroo to hypnotise the German backline with his bouncing mane and finish with aplomb. I say there's been a bunch of mix haters in recent weeks, and they all can hush now because he's Nordic Messi once more. Kyle Beckerman changed the game, allowed Michael Bradley to continue to bomb forwards. The US knew they had a dreadlock security blanket locking down the back, and then the midfield was further bolstered by the arrival of SAT master, Stanford student Jordan Morris.
Yes. Amazing storyline. You can just feel US soccer observers like just so confused. The people in the media who cover the US is like just not being able to deal with quite how well Jordan Morris has played for this team.
Quick segue. Can we make this clear? Because Jordan Morris listens to this show. Jordan, we know you're a student. You can be our summer intern at Embassy Row anytime.
Love you here.
What a dummy to set up space for the game winner.
Amazing.
I'm trying to think of people who've had better college experiences than Jordan Morris. Little list. Mark Zuckerberg, maybe. Elle Woods in Legally Blonde.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah, probably she had a better one. But what a pass from Brad Evans. And then Bobby Wood, Davo.
That finish, Rog. Amazing
Again,
stuff.
he kicks more clutch winners than Adam Vinatieri, that bloke. Bobby Wood, or Bobby Holtz, as you say in Germany. What a finish. So much to do when he received the ball. Currently playing in the third level of the Bundesliga, ladies and gentlemen.
Looks like he may be moving up though, Rog.
To Stuttgart?
Yeah.
If you read Bild. All I say is I can't wait for the Bobby Wood 30 for 30 in 10 years' time. Best week ever. Germany had 64% possession. US outshot them 13-12. And then my favourite moment, the Jürgen Klinsmann handshake after the game.
Complicated, Rog. Complicated.
So, I know I read too much into handshakes and smiles, David.
Yeah,
You talked to me a lot about that.
Yeah.
But that handshake, it was stuffed with a gratifying mix of self-loathing, astonishment and defeat, which is my favourite kind of German handshake.
Yeah.
Jürgen returned it with what the Germans wonderfully phrase as Regression, the experience you have when returning to your old school and finding everything feels so small.
Oh.
They've got a beautiful word for it. But this was just a friendly. Does it matter, David?
You know, we ask ourselves three questions all the time about the US men's national team. What about the back line? How are the defence doing? Secondly, are there new people stepping up to go and take the roles of Dempsey and Donovan? And who's going to be the consistent goal scorer for the US? Those are the standards by which certainly I measure performances. I think the back line was still pretty terrifying across both games. There was not a lot of defence being played. Certainly the centre-back partnerships didn't look great. But I think we're starting to see more than I've ever seen before, and I would say even more than in Brazil last summer, starting to see the emergence of some real potential stars on this side. I must say, Zardes, for me, really caught my eye, and he ticks those last two categories for me. He looks like an international goal scorer. I loved his movement. I loved his attitude. I love his... Look, we all love Josie, Rog, but Josie sometimes gets down in the dumps. His body language says a lot. I must say, just watching Zardes' countenance and the way that he encouraged his midfielders to pass him, I just loved watching it. The emergence of Jordan Morris, the emergence of Bobby Wood. And last, but certainly not least, the re-energization of Michael Bradley as the general in that midfield. Fantastic performances from Bradley in both games.
Also, talking about great performances, Brad Friedel, I thought was fantastic.
Yeah, he wasn't on the field, though, playing.
Oh, but by the way, I would love it if Brad Friedel did a book on tape of Angela's Ashes.
Yeah.
But the critical thing for this...
He doesn't have the accent for it, Rog.
The critical thing for this, for me, is less about the US team and more about the impression it made on European memories. The wins against the Netherlands, the win then against Germany. I think they play another critical step in changing the way the world thinks about our brand of US soccer. Just reading the newspapers over in England about how they reported the game, it was with a sense of wonder and astonishment. I think number 2, Jurgen haters, and there's many of them.
Especially, by the way, because they took a couple of steps back at the end of calendar year 2014 with the terrible loss to Ireland in Dublin. A lot of people said, oh, yeah, it was just a one-off thing, it was a blip. I think this is the proof that the World Cup was not a blip for the US.
Jurgen haters, temporarily silenced. There's so many of them who predetermined everything he does is crazy. Agreed. I remember the Fox piece they did before one of the recent games where they said, is Jurgen Klinsmann crazy?
Yeah.
Or is he crazy like a fox?
He's crazy like a fox, Rog.
Oh, so the glut of critics who mock the very notion of scheduling friendlies against number 6 ranked Netherlands and number 1 ranked Germany, not to be too hyperbolic, but as GFOP Case and Dwyer wrote, Rog and Davo, I think Field Marshal Bernard Law Montgomery would have envied the way the Yanks tore through the Netherlands and Germany. Monty, God love him, the great English general, boyhood hero, once said something incredibly Jurgen Klinsmann-esque: discipline strengthens the mind so that it becomes impervious to fear, which I think is something that he's in the process of doing with this team. The thing I love is the impact of all of this on the youth of America. At Marcus Hansen tweeted us to say, my son was in his graduation ceremony to 9th grade. He was introduced, he stood up, went towards the microphone and did his best LVG impression. He just yelled one word into the microphone, bye!
Genius.
He wrote,
Rog.
That's what makes me proud, Dave. I could not be more proud.
Also, Rog, I think one of the other things that this raises is weaknesses in German and Dutch football. I don't know that before, when the US has even beaten people, where the people said, oh, you know what, they're exposing some weaknesses in the German and in the Dutch game. The Germans, since the last World Cup, Rog, that loss, the first loss ever to Poland, and I think this loss against the US exposes some weaknesses in the German setup, which is interesting. And Holland continuing to have some problems. Going into a European Championships year next year, I think there are a lot of questions being raised by the US.
I catch what you're implying.
Those squads.
England are going to win it all.
No, I don't think that's going to happen, Rog. For a second, believe me, we won't even get to England's performances. England were at least entertaining against Slovenia, Rog, but they've gone back. They're the US 2 years ago at this point. They have absolutely no defence, but they look kind of interesting going forward. They're going for the US.
We're in regression.
2 years ago.
We're going to be like the US in 1990.
We're trailing behind. We're following. The US under-20 team, Rog, they've just returned from the under-20 World Cup. Their run came to an end, sadly, on Sunday in the cruelest of fashions. Tied at 0, their quarterfinal against Serbia went to penalties. A total of 18 penalties later. Rog, Serbians are good at penalties. The Serbs emerged victorious, Rog.
At Jay Greenwich tweeted us, 239 years, and our English roots finally catch up to us.
No, England have never gone 18 penalties, Roger. Are you crazy?
As Englishmen, we know exactly how painful a loss on penalties can be. And that final penalty shank by US defender Cameron Carter-Vickers, who'd actually played wonderfully to that point, it was uglier than the bathroom in Starbucks. But Zach Steffen, 2 massive penalty saves, total hero. The man who flicked off University of Maryland to go and sign with SC Freiburg, who were just relegated from the Bundesliga. Zach Steffen, you are the future. US goalkeeper 2.0, action man with added hair. At AS Davis tweeted us to say, I'm sure there is a somber, heart-wrenching Casey at the Bat-esque poem or sonnet that will come out of these penalties. #sad sleep.
The under-20 World Cup final, Brazil versus Serbia, live from New Zealand, Rog, 1 a.m. Saturday on Fox Sports 1. So much soccer.
Yeah, indeed, because congratulations also to the US Paralympic soccer team who beat Venezuela 3-0 in the opening match of the Cerebral Palsy Football World Championships, which just kicked off in England today. Dominate.
Yeah, well done. And then in Euro 2016 qualifying, Rog, I must say, Euro 2016 come in for a lot of criticism because of the new format, Rog, where they've moved up to 24 teams also. But the qualifying has been sensational. We just mentioned England remains 6 points clear atop Group E. They defeated Slovenia 3-2 Saturday. Wayne Rooney's 86th minute winner put him level with Gary Lineker as England's second leading scorer of all time with 48 career goals, but it was the Jack Wilshere strikes that really made that game, Rog. Wales surged into Group B's top spot by defeating Belgium 1-0
Unbelievable.
in Cardiff.
Gareth Bale imbuing the team with confidence, and they stand on the brink of a first major tournament since 19 58.
And you look down that lineup, you think, that's a good team. Gareth Bale, Rog, he scored that night. He has 5 of Wales' 8 qualifying goals. Scotland, Rog, remain in third place in Group D, 2 points ahead of Ireland after the sides drew 1-1 in Dublin.
And Northern Ireland, Davo, minnows, whipping boys, runts. They're in touching distance too of the Euros. An amazing collective spirit lifting a team whose star, whose star is Manchester United's Johnny Evans. Now UEFA are letting everyone in. Joy is just permeating darkness. Performance of the week.
Yeah.
Gibraltar's goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Jordan Perez. Goalkeeping masterclass.
Yeah. Saved a Bastian Schweinsteiger penalty. Germany thumped the mighty Gibs 7-0. Rog.
Yeah, but I'm not sure what's Gibraltar for Hope Solo.
Yeah.
It might well be Jordan Perez. He's a firefighter by day.
Yeah.
He's a goalkeeper by night. Best goalkeeping performance in a 7-0 loss of all time. Sign him up, Arsenal. That's all I'll say.
Very, very true. Perhaps Hope Solo should pursue a career as a firefighter also.
in some kind of reverse deal.
Might take the edge off.
And another great moment of the week. Croatian FA issues apology for swastika seen on pitch during Euro qualifier versus Italy.
Yeah, how exactly did that happen, Rog?
They carved into the field.
Yeah.
You know how Southampton have
No, I know. I saw it.
How did they apologise?
Well, no, but how did it actually happen? How did that get on the field, Rog? If the Croatian FA didn't have something to do with it.
The question is, to me, is the Italian FA complained.
Yeah.
And I wonder if their complaint was that the swastika wasn't large enough.
Yeah. Oh, dear, Rog.
In football, Davo.
In Premier League
Do you remember
news,
the Premier League?
Yeah, this morning the league released the fixtures for next season. I was just looking at them, Rog. The big game opening weekend, Manchester United versus Spurs. Chelsea kick off their title defence at home against Swansea. And then week 2, they play Manchester City, Rog.
Yeah, can't wait for that ground-out, dull, goalless tie. Second week of the season. Arsenal will batter Liverpool the week after that. 2 dates for your diary.
Yeah.
El Blaze Erico fans. Everton host Chelsea September the 12th and then shock the world by doing the double over Mourinho January 16th at Stamford
Look out for
Bridge.
live shows to be scheduled shortly after those games.
I'd say the team with the toughest opening run this season. Brendan Rodgers, Liverpool.
Away at Stoke opening game, Rog.
Yep, site of last season's 6-1 demolition. And then listen to this, Davo. Arsenal, Manchester United, Everton, Tottenham, Chelsea, Manchester City.
Call from Tom Werner to the league office. Okay, we want to get rid of Brendan,
Yeah.
but we need cause.
Yeah, second call.
Can you go and arrange the fixtures this way?
Second call from Tom Werner
Yeah.
to Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah.
Start practicing your scouse, mate. You're going in.
Yeah. You might want to get used to Nando's. Newcastle have hired former England boss Steve McLaren as their manager. Rog McLaren comes to Tyneside after being sacked by Derby after they plummeted out of the race for championship playoff spots late last season.
It was an odd experience watching the former boy wonder, failed England manager wash up at Newcastle, claim he's always wanted a coach there, despite turning the club down 4 times in previous years. He's been assured he'll have true control and be bankrolled. But what was most telling about his unveiling was that he was only allowed to speak to newspapers that had been handpicked by owner Mike Ashley, which I think was probably as telling as anything of how things are going to go.
Manchester City, Rog, have offered Liverpool $56 million for Raheem Sterling. Last week, Liverpool turned down a $39 million bid from City for the man Arlo White calls a pocket battleship.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating. City need at least 5 homegrown players added to their squad in order to meet the Premier League's necessary quota of 8 homegrown players.
Yeah.
And the demand on these English talents makes their price soar through basic supply and demand.
But the homegrown players do not have to be English. They just have to have been in the academies for a while, Rog.
Yeah, and as the off-season continues, City's connection to the like of Jack Wilshere, Jack Grealish is going to be one of the most fascinating storylines. All kinds of rumours: De Gea, Paul Pogba, Harry Kane, Peter Cech, Nathaniel Klein. The only one I take seriously is Jerry Deulofeu.
Yeah.
Rumoured to be coming back to Everton.
Rog.
It's going to be a lot of bullshit talked about, essentially, from now until August.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Well done, Swansea, for getting Dede Ayew from Marseille. Great signing. Energetic flank player with goal-scoring ability, David. How are you enjoying your summer watching the rumours of where the majority of Chelsea's 72 senior players are going to end up on loan?
I know.
Does not make you go cross-eyed?
I know. My word, I can't keep up with it. I just really don't read about the transfers, Rog, until we get later into the window.
Americans always want to know who are the reliable British journalists to read. Like in American sports, you have Mark Stein and Adam Schefter.
Yeah.
JW says for the old NFL. They always say, who's the Adam Schefter of the EPL? Essentially, everyone's just making it up to sell papers. There's no such thing as reliable information until a deal is done. So you have to enjoy other storylines, like Arsenal releasing images of their 2015-16 kit. Huge relief, David. Less an athletic top. More a political statement, throwing their lot in with Rihanna and Scout Willis to free the nipple. Mm-hmm. Thank God. I dropped to my knees.
Oh, it's not as tight anymore.
It's pretty bloody tight.
Oh.
It's tight enough.
I was thinking that the next place it was going was going to be a jersey that you wore inside your skin. That's how tight it was.
Well, they could have done the opposite and gone kaftan.
Yeah.
But thank God, David, we got no Steve Bruce. We got no Sam Allardyce.
Yeah.
Arsenal's areola-hugging football jerseys are the only things we've got left to talk about next
true.
season. And then other real news, hard-hitting news. The English newspapers have had a field day with Jack Grealish.
Oh, Jack Grealish.
Aston Villa will hold talks with Jack Grealish over the photographs that, quote, appear to show the midfielder lying in the street of Tenerife, passed out drunk, surrounded by garbage and cigarette packets.
Wow. Well, why shouldn't he behave like every other English footballer, Rog?
19. Yeah. I mean, the rise of cell phones, the rise of stories like this.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the kinds of stories we would have had as a kid in George Best's day?
Oh, my word.
Stan Bowles' day.
Yeah.
Stan Bowles' autobiography began, I don't know how I've remembered anything because I usually couldn't remember a thing about the previous night when I woke up every morning. Thank you, cell phones.
Okay, our guest today, an actress from the hit Netflix series Orange is the New Black. Her character, Gina, is doing time for embezzlement. Oh, the crime we can only assume was FIFA-related. We welcome to the pod, live from the set of Orange is the New Black, Arsenal and US Women's National Team fan, GFOP, Abigail Savage.
Hi, guys.
Oh, so delighted to have you.
Oh, thank you for having me on. It's a thrill.
So you're on set. You're on set.
Yep.
You just come off like no spoiler alerts, but what's going on? What are you dressed in? What are you dressed in? What's going on?
All I can tell you guys is that Gina got to say the word narcissism today, and I think that's real growth for this character, that Gina even knows the word narcissism.
Rog tries to use that in every single pod. This is the first pod that I've managed to get Rog not to say narcissism, and of course, you come on and say
ruin it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's normally in relation to the sentence, you're so narcissistic, David. But we edit that bit out.
There you go. I pretty much said the same thing. I said, you're so narcissistic, Davo, on set. Nobody knew what was going on, but it meant something to me. Yeah.
Oh, first day back on set, season 4. Your co-star, Uzo Aduba, Crazy Eyes, she described the filming process for you guys as a, quote, girls' sleepover that goes on for 5 months. How is it being back amongst the neck burns and tampon sandwiches?
It's so much fun. It's like I never left. It's so great, guys. It really is like that, and that's very unusual on set, to have a vibe as good as the vibe is on Orange. It's as good as you could imagine it to be. So I'm having a ball, and I know I'm going to have a ball for another 6 months, and that's just great.
Slightly odd question, but how did you feel about the color orange before you did Orange is the New Black?
You know, orange has never made it to the top of my list of colors, but I don't have any issues with it. It works on Halloween, and then usually I hadn't thought of it at any other time. But now, of course, I'm very connected to the color and try to work it in here and there as much as I can.
Oh, good. I don't like orange food. I quite like orange clothing and furniture, though, Rog.
Half our viewers think you're on a documentary about the Dutch football team, the Orange. But how did he get into football? Because your love affair, if anyone that follows you on Twitter or Instagram, it burns bright.
Well, it took me a while. I am a noob, I have to say, right? So I watched the World Cup in 2010. I got really into it. This time around, 2014 World Cup, I became obsessed. And so we started watching the Premier League, and I just got a taste. I would sample. I would see as many games as possible and start getting used to the teams. And I became an Arsenal fan only because I loved watching them play. It was as simple as that. I loved when they were on, when they were playing well, with the little passes and the flicks and the finesse and stuff like that. It was really exciting for me and much more interesting
Are you a sadomasochist in other areas of your life?
Yes. I also am a Knicks fan.
Oh,
Gina's an embezzler, as you know better than I do. We had a question from a listener at Ryan Cleveland. Abigail, if you were to rob a bank...
great American name, by the way.
Which Arsenal player would be your partner in crime? # Bonnie and Clyde.
Oh, that's an easy one. It would have to be Sandy Cazorla. Because, he's sneaky like that, and he'd be able to, toss me the money in the perfect way, and then we could just get out of there. You need somebody shifty and small who can cover a lot of territory very quickly, I think, if we're going to do a bank job.
Santi, I had down actually as a great accomplice, because if we got caught, which we probably would be, Santi looks like a cheerful bloke to do time with.
Yeah, that too.
Thomas Rosicky looks like the kind of guy who knows his way around die packs.
Yeah, I can't even begin with him. I see him and I just can't make sense of his humanity. It's very confusing. His face is very confusing to me. Have you guys seen Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion?
Oh, love that film.
When Alan Cumming shows up with a new face?
Oh, yeah.
That's
Rosicky. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
By the way, I have thought this one through a bit more. I'd have Nacho Monreal on getaway car duties.
Oh, interesting.
You don't care about this stuff anyway for the moment. Your Twitter last night, at Savage937, you said this Women's World Cup is really cramping my Orange is the New Black Season 3 binge-watching style.
So true.
If we were to do a US women's national team to Orange is the New Black converter, and this question may have practical application and not be theoretical, who would Hope Solo be?
I don't know. Would she be V from Season 2? Or would she be Red? She's a master of what she does.
Brilliant.
And at the same time, you're not sure what's going on in the background. I think she would be Red,
Should be very entertaining. There's no doubt about it.
You don't think there's a bit of crazy eyes about Hope?
Oh, of course, yeah. I see that.
Smart and tough.
I see that.
She could almost do it as a one-woman show where she could play every character, Rog.
There you go.
Amazing. Okay, who else, Rog?
Megan Rapinoe.
Oh, Megan Rapinoe.
Oh, beloved Megan.
She maybe Poussey, because you just gotta love her. Like, how can you not love Megan Rapinoe?
Oh, you gotta love Megan Rapinoe.
She's got your back. She's there. She's got that integrity. She's got that cross. And maybe she makes good hooch. I don't know.
You don't think there's a bit of Nikki in Megan? Tough, fun.
Oh, interesting.
Big heart. Helps everyone be better together. Collective.
I see that. I see Sydney LaRue as more of a Nikki. Nikki is sarcastic, gets in your face. She's willing to play dirty a little bit, but, she's got a heart of gold when you dig really deep in there. So that's why I see her as like a Sydney LaRue.
We'll give you that. What about Alex Morgan?
Baby horse.
Alex Morgan might be Piper.
Yes.
Yes.
Final one on this. Everyone wants to know. Who would be Gina? Who would be Gina? Who would be you?
Can I be Abby Wambach? I'm so not, though. I'm like Megan Klingenberg. Like,
yes!
What is she doing? Oh, she looks like she's okay.
You are, Megan. Your size, your charisma, your brilliance. What would Gina do if she got out of prison?
Yeah. I feel like prison's really good for Gina. I feel like she probably didn't do such a great job outside of prison.
Uh-huh.
So she should just stay there. Maybe she'll start working for the prison. Yes.
I like to
she'll
pretend.
be a CO.
I like to pretend she can play attacking midfield like Alexis Sanchez.
Mm-hmm.
In which case we will dispense her to Canada immediately.
There you go.
At T2VA, question from a listener. There can only be one Gina. Arsenal win the league or the US women win the World Cup. Which would you pick?
Oh, that's easy. It would be the U.S. women winning the World Cup. It's been too long. Arsenal gets a chance every year. Forget about it.
We love Orange is the New Black. But, even more than that, we love your nascent and deep and true and wonderful football fandom. Abigail, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. It's very exciting. My cousin Craig is pooping himself right now because he loves you guys so much. As far as he's concerned, I'm speaking to a pair of gods right now.
Tell Craig we've also all pooped our pants. Nothing to be ashamed of.
Thanks so much, Abigail.
Thanks, guys, for having me.
Courage.
Oh, yeah, rock on. Bye.
Avocado. It's
Thank you.
amazing. My cousin Craig is also pooping himself right now, Rog, but
Put
for
Craig,
completely different
put Craig
reasons.
on the phone.
Okay, on to the Ravens, Rog. Our first Raven is from Anne Eiskowitz. Is there a term for humans who only cry whilst watching sport, in particular international sport or sport-related documentaries? If not, I feel one should be coined. Interesting, Roger. I wonder if this is related to somebody that Anne is involved with, or perhaps to Anne herself.
But I can say Anne's Twitter handle has the word Everton in it.
Oh, wow.
So I imagine there's probably a lot of crying.
But is there a term for humans who only cry whilst watching Everton?
I think there is.
Yeah.
Not about Everton.
Uh-huh.
I cried this week listening to a Desert Island Disc. Did you hear it? The one with the English swimmer Rebecca Adlington.
No, I didn't. I love Rebecca Adlington, though.
She talks about the sacrifices her parents made to fund her career and what it was like to see them the second after she won gold in Beijing. I cried when I heard it. I cried a year ago this week when John Anthony Brooks scored the winner for the US against Ghana.
Yeah.
I shed a tear this season when Ryan Taylor, the Newcastle player, was injured on his first game back after 32 months out with injury.
But do you ever cry at other times other than these moments?
Never.
Never during a movie.
Oh, movies. All
Yeah.
the time, movies. We talk about...
Mike, when Mike enters the scene in The Blind
I
Side.
cried during 13 going on 30
Oh, I would too.
when I watched it on the plane.
Yeah.
Sobbed.
I cried at the end of Confessions of a Shopaholic the other night.
But when I watch football, Dave,
Uh-huh.
the tears come because football can be crap and dull and very, very Sunderland. But it can also be kind of Arthur Miller quality theatre that makes me feel things. I don't feel things very often.
Yeah.
So I often shed tear during sport, and I think it does have a name, and that name is to be human.
Okay, the winner.
Have
of
you
the-
ever cried, by the way, watching sport?
Yeah, all the time.
Like when?
I tell you, I cried earlier this year when New Zealand won that amazing semi-final in the cricket. I cried for New Zealand, Roger. Cried for a country that was not my own, that I've never found myself rooting at any point for in my life.
We've become
I
very
cry in
close with them
sport
because we
all
broadcast in New
the
Zealand.
time. Yeah, we love New Zealand. I have family there, but I've never cried during a New Zealand sporting victory, Rog. Yeah, cry all the time.
Have you ever cried during an American sporting anything?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I cried. I was at the 1999 World Cup final, Roger. I cried when the US won that.
I cried when the Chicago White Sox won the World Series. Sobbed.
I've cried a lot as an Orlando Magic fan, but not for great moments.
I cried when Walter Payton died.
Day we lost Shaq.
And then I cried again when I read that book about Walter Payton.
Yeah, I can see exactly why, Rog. Okay, the winner of the coveted Guinness Men in Blazers poet, philosopher, Saka scribe, Raven of the Week is Chuck Shipman. Excellent American name. Chuck Shipman. Help! I'm facing a parenting crisis and need your advice. My 10-year-old son just came to me to tell me about a new movie. It's called United Passions. It looks really cool. Can we go see it? So first off, lesson learned. Don't let your child use the internet unattended because you never know what kind of depravity they'll be exposed to, especially the deep web, Chuck. But now, how do I handle this? My son loves soccer. I don't want to burden him with the ugly truth behind the beautiful game, but I'm afraid if I do take him, afterwards he'll tell me, Dad, when I grow up, I want to be just like Seth Bladder. You gentlemen have sons, hopefully with better taste in movies than mine. How would you handle this? Yours in linen, Chuck Shipman.
Oh, succinct answer. Chuck Shipman, you mate.
Yeah.
What a great question.
I'd like to see United Passions. Can't you just wait till it comes out on Netflix or on iTunes?
You've got to watch it now, Chuck.
Yeah.
But go deep with him and talk to him more about the narrative of Tim Roth's career. Ask him, show him Reservoir Dogs, he's 10, he's ready. And then show him Pulp Fiction. And ask him how a man who is in those can end up in life taking jobs like this. Set it up as a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
But how old is he?
10.
10. Honestly, Chuck Shipman, you should have headed off problems like this at the pass. Your son should be on the strict diet of watching Weird Science, Diner, and Say Anything.
Yeah.
And then this problem would never have reared its ugly head.
Yeah. Good point, Rog. Okay, your weekend looks like this. In the World Cup, Brazil play Australia at 1 p.m. Saturday. That game will be on the Fox family of networks. That's a great last 16 game, Rog. In Copa America, Rog, we haven't even mentioned Copa America. Uruguay versus Paraguay, the Battle of the Guays. Yeah, 3 p.m. Saturday on B in Sports. And in an MLS, DC United versus and New England and Revolution and 5 p.m. and Eastern Time and Sunday on and ESPN2. Good stuff, Rog. There are many ways to connect to us. One is through our Amazon Emporium, which helps keep the show going. Anytime you go on Amazon for items big or small, just look off the Emporium page. And Men in Blazers gets a tiny percentage that allows us to cover the cost of creating the show. What are you putting in the Emporium this week, Rog?
A book.
Oh, a bookie book.
Red. A History of the Redhead. By Jackie Collis Harvey.
Wow, sounds perfect for you, Rog.
Oh, it's a rollicking delve into the cultural history of redheads.
Yeah.
From the moment the redhead gene emerged out of Africa.
Yeah.
50,000 years ago, David.
Yeah.
It's an exploration of how redhead cliches suggest that redhead females are both somehow seductive temptresses and scatterbrains, and how redhead blokes are seen both as savages and clowns in equal measure. So it's an important read for anyone who stands with gingies.
Yeah. Okay, Rog, I'm putting in a golf club. Well, more specifically, I think I'm putting in the king of wedges, the Cleveland Golf Men's 588 RTX Black Standard Bounce Wedge. I'm going to put in a 52 degree, which is a wedge that not many people carry. Jonathan Williamson is nodding his head. I'm going to put in a 52 degree, but you can choose any loft you want. A black wedge, Rog. Look at that club. It looks terrifying. Even if you're crap at golf and you can't hit your wedge. I'm saying standard bounce as well. Don't mess around with high bounce or low bounce. Have a standard bounce. You can hit all kinds of shots with it. If you've got a black wedge and it's matte black, Rog, I can see you're not that interested. You can intimidate your opponent even if you can't hit the shot yourself. The 52 degree, I just feel like for my chipping, JW, I can't rely on my 56 and my regular E-wedge, my regular sort of degree, it's like too low. I need something between. I've thought about the 54. I've gone for the 52. I think I can hit a range of shots with it. I'm adding a 52 to my bag. I'm taking out my 60, which is controversial. Really should take out my 4-iron, but I just like it because it looks good. Okay, Rog.
I need another Guinness after that.
Other ways to connect to us. We recently released Men in Blazers Unbuttoned. Now that's what I call Suboptimal Volume 2, the best of 2014 on iTunes, Amazon and Google Play. It's the most suboptimal moments from a year in which Liverpool nearly won the league, USA nearly won the World Cup. Have a listen and then a sad nap. Check out our Spotify account, men_in_blazers. Also, meninblazers.wikispaces.com. That's a wonder of the modern world. Our website, Rog, meninblazers.com. You can sign up for our newsletter there, The Raven, which we produce with our wonderful partner, Guinness. We're coming into a meeting after the pod. Rog. Yep. You can follow us on Twitter at Rog Bennett, at Embassy Davies, at Men in Blazers, on Instagram at Men in Blazers, and at Embassy_Davies. Follow us on Facebook, Rog. We got one of those. We got a subreddit also, meninblazers.reddit.com, maintained by GFOP, Akshay, Calvin, and Alex. You can send your ravens to the crap part of Soho. You can always email us at meninblazers@gmail.com.
Or speak to us through the deep web.
Yeah, the deep web. Yeah. Vanderpunk Rog.
War pig.
Who wants to sex Matumbo?
Explosion.
Courage.